Hi, and welcome to Module 1 of our course created by EUth Wonders as part of the Fight Against Love Scam project funded by Erasmus. In this module, we will explore how love scammers operate, how to recognize early warning signs, which platforms they commonly use, and most importantly, what you should do when you encounter suspicious behavior online. In the very first unit, we will focus on identifying the early warning that someone online might not be who they say they are and may in fact be a love scammer. Love scams often begin very gently. The first messages usually appear caring, flattering, and emotionally warm. A scammer may make you feel special, seen, or understood almost immediately. The goal here is simple. They want to build trust very quickly before the victim has time to question anything. It is very important here to begin with one essential reminder. They're being targeted, it's not your fault. Scammers are trained professionals. They use psychological tactics, emotional scripts, and sometimes even AI tools to manipulate people. Anyone from any background can be approached. This is why it is very important to discuss the red flags and patterns that might be common in love scams so you can recognize them, because the earlier you notice them, the easier it is to stay safe and avoid any emotional or financial harm. So let's jump into the signs that this might be a love scam. Sign number one, it is unrealistic or too perfect profile. Let's begin with the very first thing that you see online. It is the profile. One common sign of love scamming is having an unrealistic or overly perfect profile. If the person looks like a model, a celebrity, or someone taken from a magazine photo shoot, and especially if their photos look too professional or they have very few pictures, their friends list seems suspicious or empty, or their profile is newly created, this is a red flag. Scammers often use stolen images from the internet and social media, and now with AI generated images, it is even easier for them to create fake profiles and look real. So, if you meet someone online with only one perfect profile picture, no personal posts, no tagged photos, and they avoid video calls, beware, as these are strong warning signs. Reflection for learners. Have you seen profiles online that seem too perfect? What made them feel suspicious? So let's jump into sign number two. It is the love bombing technique. Another sign is that once you start communicating with a love scammer, you will notice a pattern they usually use, which is love bombing. Love bombing is when someone expresses intense emotions and an intense connection very quickly. They might say, "You're special. I've never felt this way before," or "We're soulmates. I feel so connected to you," or "Where have you been all my life?" And all of this may happen just after a few days, or sometimes even after a few messages. This strategy creates a sense of urgency, trust, and emotional dependence. Real relationships take time. Scammers try to accelerate emotional connection so victims trust them too quickly and can feel emotionally tied before noticing any inconsistencies. So, if someone tells you that they feel very strongly after only three messages, how much you respond safely? So, let's jump into sign number three. It is the inconsistent or suspicious personal stories. When the conversation flows, you may notice from their communication that their life story does not fully make sense. Scammers often claim to have respectable or trusted professions. They might say that they are a doctor working abroad, an engineer on an offshoring rig, or a widower raising a child alone, maybe a military officer or a business person who is constantly traveling. Why these roles? because they sound admirable and believable, but they also give excuses for not meeting in person, not calling regularly, maybe also not sharing details or disappearing for long periods. You may also notice that they have vague answers to direct questions or contradicting detailed stories that change over time or overly dramatic life events. If their story feels too convenient, too dramatic, or simply not realistic, trust your intuition and take it seriously as a warning sign. If something feels off, it probably is. Sign number 4 is emotional manipulation through urgent stories. After love bombing you and building emotional closeness, the love scammer will at some point bring up urgent emotional stories that follow a certain narrative to create sympathy, to have the motivation to financially help, guilt, or fear. Typical narratives include illness of the scammer or a family member, emergency surgeries, sudden accidents, being trapped somewhere without money, losing documents or luggage, or needing help with visas, tickets, or medical bills. Some common pattern stories include like they are deployed in a dangerous area and they cannot access their bank. They might also say, my child needs medicine urgently, or I'm stuck at the airport and need a little help. They might also say, I want to visit you, but I need support for the flight. These stories always come with a sense of urgency, pushing the victim to act quickly without thinking. Sign number 5 is avoiding video calls. A very important sign and the strongest indicator of a love scammer is that they also avoid video calls. They often have excuses and say something like, my camera is broken, I have bad internet connection, or I'm not dressed well, or I'm in a restricted area and cannot show my surroundings. If weeks or months pass without a real time video call, you are probably not talking to a person in the photos. A genuine person who is truly interested to getting to know you will eventually agree to start a video call. Let's jump into sign number 6 is moving to private messaging apps. Scammers try to move the conversation away from the dating platform or social media to private apps like WhatsApp or Telegram. This helps them to avoid detection. Why? Because dating platforms monitor suspicious behavior, while private apps offer scammers more freedom to manipulate without any restrictions. Trustworthy people usually don't pressure you to switch platforms quickly. Sign number 7 is poor grammar or strange communication style. While a love scammer would usually state they're from a resident or in a developed country, you may find that they communicate with unusual grammar, inconsistent language style, overly formal expressions, copy paste messages, or AI generated texts. Sometimes the tone feels robotic because it is a script used on multiple victims. So if messages feel unnatural or repetitive, take a step back and evaluate. Sign number 8 is that they avoid meeting in person. So even if you live in the same country, scammers will cancel plans at the last minute, claim sudden emergencies, pretend to be traveling unexpectedly, or say that they are temporarily abroad. Month may pass with many promises, but no real meeting. There are also a few more early signals worth paying attention to, such as asking very personal questions quickly, trying to isolate you from friends or family. Like they might say, don't tell anyone about us yet, and asking you to communicate secretly or privately. They might also become upset or manipulative if you don't reply quickly. They might pressure you to trust them 100% immediately. And they might also avoid answering questions about their past. So, none of these signs alone prove it is a scam, but a combination of several things is a strong indicator that they are being scammed. Remember that it is not about being naive. Scammers are professionals. Knowing these signs help you feel safe, protect your emotions, and avoid falling into a harmful situation.